Ben, first of all, thank you very much for having me. I was looking at some of your previous episodes and I was very impressed. And also, I'm very touched that you've asked me to be on your show. And I look forward to seeing it on Netflix very soon.
Me too. Me too.
So, so my name's Andrew Webb. I would say probably still very new in the business, really, yes. Having only been, 2.5 years ago, I was still at Champions. I was new at Champions 2.5 years ago, which to anyone watching this who doesn't know what Champions is, it's the school that many people in our brokerage attend in order to get their license. And I was there 2.5 years ago. And who am I? Andrew Webb from England. I decided to create my brand around that because I identified that in America, the British culture is very much embraced. Everyone likes the Beatles, definitely Stephen. I know he does. Everyone likes Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, the Rolling Stones. They like James Bond. They like Harry Potter. They like Peppa Pig. And they
like you, and they like you too.
They like the royal family, apart from Prince Andrew, obviously, for obvious reasons, which we won't go into on this show. This is a family show,
right?
And I thought, well, I should capitalize on that. I should capitalize on those things. So my brand is created around that. That really is who I am. I was a car salesman. That's how I started out in England. I then became a sales manager. I then started my own used car business, a small business, a micro business, used car business between Bath and Bristol in the southwest of England. Then I'd been to drama school in England and trained as an actor, and my degree is BA Honours acting, and I still have a voiceover agent in London. So occasionally I still do voiceovers.
That doesn't surprise me at all, because I was gonna ask, do you think that you would have the same recognizable look, sound, if you sounded like Ben Baker from the South? I think there's an advantage that you've touched on.
Well, you have to capitalize on what you have. So whatever that is. Now, you can be from another state. Let's say, for example, I don't know, you've got a thick, strong Tennessee accent or something like that, then you can capitalize on that. Mm-hmm. You can capitalize on your physique. There was a guy I saw called the Fat Realtor, which was amazing, right? Because it's funny, because it's endearing, because he's also laughing at his own expense.
Absolutely,
which is funny, right? People love that. It's actually he empowered himself, if anything.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's his brand. So I would say to any new realtor, or indeed any new business, is that focus on your brand, be very brand centric, and know exactly what you stand for, right. And create something that gets a reaction from people. Because when I say Englishman in Dallas, then there's a pause. The realtor who treats you like royalty, then people start laughing because it's funny.
Yes.
But the fact that there's a reaction is good, right? So that you want people to remember you, because there's so many realtors, it's unbelievable, and most of them will be forgotten.
100%.
But if you can do something that makes you stand out, and I knew this from day one at Champions, before I even got my license, I thought, look at all the people in this room. These are all the new agents. This is my generation of agents coming from Champions. They're 18 to 80.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And they're school teachers, they're factory workers, they're from all different walks of life. all different backgrounds, and that's your comp. So you need to stand out.
And you have done that. So when you were sitting, briefly, when you were sitting in those classes at Champions, you made a decision at that point.
Mm.
One, to, I'm sure, take your GRI and really, separate yourself from the masses, right? Speak on that briefly.
So the GRI came later, and
Hmm.
I'm glad it did. But when I was at Champions, then the brokers would come in as they still do, and then
Hmm.
Stephen and Janice came in one day, and I liked them. And I remember I ran out. I ran out and went up to Janice. I said, I want to come over to your and have an appointment with you and have a look. And then I started going to as many classes as I
Okay.
could at because they were free, and I was welcome to go, and I was welcome to come and spend time at the brokerage. And I think you were teaching a couple of those classes before I'd even got my license,
Hmm.
and there were some other more of the more experienced agents teaching classes. I think Nilsa taught as well.
Hmm.
Anyway, I just thought, well, why wouldn't I go and spend time in this environment and learn so that I can hit the ground running? Why wait until I get my license? Why not start now? Immerse myself in it now, and alongside my being at Champions. Um, why wouldn't you do that? I
Yeah.
don't understand why anyone wouldn't think that.
And Andrew, one, you don't understand it, and I don't either. And when I see folks over at Champions or new agents, I'm like, why wouldn't you put yourself in that environment? Because I tell people, um, your proximity to greatness will help elevate you and your success. And I think the agents who do it now, even sometimes before they make a decision of which family to join, I already know that's an agent who's going to succeed because the failure rate in this business is anywhere from 15 to 20% actually make it through a year or two. I
Mm,
already know you're going to be part of the 80%. If I think sometimes if you're not even willing to take advantage of free opportunities to learn and grow, blows my mind. But again, that's why you're sitting where you're sitting. That's why you're rookie of the year. And was that a shock to you when they called your name?
hmm. Um, yeah, I mean, I knew I'd done all right, but
Yes.
I think, yeah, it was. I'd had, here we are. I was given this award here in a cardboard box to begin with, and I thought, okay, well, that's that. I could go now if
Yes.
I so desired, but I'll stay for the rest of it. And then I got the this one here afterwards. So yes, it was yeah, it was a real honor to get that. I was so happy. I
Yes.
was really, really happy to get
Oh,
that. It meant a lot
oh,
to me,
we could
and
tell. We could tell.
it meant it meant it was probably the greatest award I'd ever won in my life. I won a chess trophy once when I was 11, and I was quite proud of that because chess is not easy. But what are we doing in our profession? This is a game of chess, I suppose. Um, but I think with Rookie of the Year, it opens up doors that were previously closed,
That's right.
and
That's right.
you all of a sudden you become part of a new room in the
100%.
in the our brokerage, or indeed any larger brokerage, and people look at you differently.
It's like
Um,
winning the Heisman. You're now part of an exclusive group. You are. And I again, I can't say that when I joined, I wasn't, right? Um, give me two or three things because clearly there's some new agents on here. Give me two or three things that um, if we've got someone who's striving to succeed at a high level or who wants to be Rookie of the Year for 2026, give me
yeah.
one or two things they have to do in order to achieve a goal like that.
Um, make sacrifices.
Okay.
Make sacrifices. So prioritize what is important. Is it important to hang out with your friends, or do you want to get your head down and succeed in this business? Because in my case, I was. I'm a workaholic. There's no doubt about it. I work all the time. I've always got it on my mind. I don't switch off. So be focused, be incredibly focused, and think of this. Ask yourself this question. There's your why. There is your why, but there is also your fear. And the two are quite different. It's like, why are you doing it? What are the consequences? What are the consequences of failure? Now, for me, the consequences of failing, right? There's nothing wrong with failure. Failure is a good thing, right? Failure is good to fail, because failure leads to success. But my fear would be having to get a job. That's the worst thing that can happen. I don't want a job because I don't do very well being employed. I cause employers big problems. I cause mutinies. I'm just bad. I'm just unhappy if I'm employed. So I have to be my own boss. That's the worst thing that can happen. That to me is devastating. So that's what keeps me going. So think about maybe what your fear is, and you need to have a healthy fear. And what are the consequences of not succeeding? What are the consequences of not taking action? And the other thing I would say is that I use Thomas Edison as a good example, who, as you know, invented the light bulb. He failed 5,000 times before he succeeded. So don't do 5,000 different things once. Think of one thing that you love doing.
I like it.
And make this business fun, or whatever business you're in. Make sure you're having fun, and make sure you love it. Because if you're having fun and you love it, you turn up, and make sure that the lead generation activities that you partake in, that you really, really enjoy doing those. Because if you do, you'll generate those leads. And you know what? If you're new, just worry about generating leads, and then don't worry too much about what comes next, because you have a team of people around you, including myself, because I'll help. I'll talk to anyone, any new agent. Just generate those leads, and then we'll worry about the next bit together.
I love that. So that helps transition me into this question here. So if you had to start over today in Dallas, no audience, no contacts, no reputation as the Englishman in Dallas, what would you bet on? Would you bet on you mentioned your work ethic, your ability, your ability to connect with people. What would you bet on right now?
If I just went,
right. Yep. Right now.
Well, that wasn't that long ago.
I know it wasn't. I know it wasn't.
Yeah, that wasn't very long ago. So what was I betting on? Well, do you know what? Having an open mind, because if you're starting in an industry that you really don't know anything much about, then you can't really make plans in the way that I couldn't say, well, I'm going to target first-time buyers, or I'm going to work with investors, or work with empty nesters, or commercial, whatever it is. How can you say that when you don't know anything about any of them, or any of it? So learn the basics first. Get your license, and don't get caught up. And this is something I was not guilty of at all, and I would do this again. I would go to more classes than I did.
Okay.
I would, because I can see the passion that Seth has, and I should have gone to more classes. But I was so eager, Ben, to just get out and do it, And
Hmm.
that's good. That's good
Absolutely.
because people can get caught up in being a perpetual student, and that's bad. Right, then they're wasting their own time because they don't come to a brokerage to study. They come to start a business, right? But I would have probably gone to a few more classes than I actually did. I think I went to like 0 classes, something.
Okay.
I didn't do really. I might have turned up at one and then just went off and then started doing stuff.
Well, again, I love the fact that I describe it this way. You had more of a shotgun mentality as opposed to rifle. You did so many different things to actually see what worked and what stuck, and as opposed to just one shot at it. And I liked it because you've succeeded and you'll continue to succeed. I have no doubt and no worry about you at all. I've got a couple other questions that hopefully will make you think just a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so you moved here and built a life and a business, right? Um, what's what's one thing that you had to let go of in order to, succeed here in an area? And again, it's not like you just moved here 2 years ago, uh,
Mm.
but what did you have to let go of, and then what did you refuse not to lose at all? Was it your integrity, your work ethic, your ability? What was it? Do you have any idea?
What did I let
Yeah,
go
what do you have to
of?
let go of?
Okay. I'll give you a good example of that. So when I was in business before and just generally beforehand up until a couple of years ago, I think I was selfish.
Okay,
So I let go of that. I let go of worrying about my own personal gain, and I turned that selfish mentality into a selfless mentality.
love it.
Now, three things happened to me. So one was moving to Dallas or DFW, doing business in DFW. The next was getting a license, joining KWDPR. The next was my involvement with BNI. And the thing is, all those things are very, very much aligned because I noticed that I never really noticed this in England, and I didn't notice it when I lived in South Florida. But people in DFWs tend to be, there seems to be a mentality, certainly with entrepreneurs, about how can I give you something? How can I help you? Yeah, what can I do to help you today? Not what can I get from you? Not how can I screw you over? How can I win and you lose? It's like, no, how can we all win? How can we both emerge victors here?
I love it.
And that's a very Dallas thing. And then you go to Keller Williams, whichever one it happens to be, and then you'll see that written all over their walls, whatever office you're in. So it's a win-win. It's got to be a win-win. And then BNI is their philosophy is givers gain. Well, very much in keeping with Keller Williams. They're so aligned, BNI and Dr. Ivner Meisner and Gary Keller.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
would imagine if they met, they'd be best of friends.
Yeah, and they probably have.
Yeah.
Ed.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I'm sure. I'm sure
yeah,
they have. Yeah.
and I know that has really, really helped your success. So, again, give me the Cliff Note version of BNI and what it has done for you and your business.
Um, BNI, for those people who are watching that don't know what it is Business Networking International. So it's a worldwide organization. And I tried to join BNI chapters around Dallas, but because I'm a realtor, I was unable to because BNI have exclusivity. There can only be one realtor or one chiropractor, one plumber, and so forth. As I say, when I'm president of BNI Preston Highlands, and I always say when I'm explaining it to newcomers, I say, just like the 1985 film Highlander, there can be only one. Uh, and and
You are.
and Yeah, so I had to start my own. If I was going to be in B&I had to
Mhm.
start my own. And this is where newbies, this is where the sacrifice comes in. So that's not an easy thing to do. It's not easy to be to start a business as a realtor with a high failure rate. It's not easy to start any business at all unless you're prepared to make sacrifices, because you can't do this like a job. You've got to be on it all the time, and just make sure that you've got a very if you have a spouse, just make sure that your spouse is very understanding, because they're going to need to be.
100%.
They are. That's
Yeah. Yeah. Andrew, I think, and again, I don't want to spend much time here at all because again, 30 minutes just moves quickly. And that's what I love about this platform, because you know what, we have to just hit it and go, right? Um, your creativity and you and I have chatted briefly. So, because I think everyone here, we get these sub 2 notices all the
oh
damn time,
yeah.
right? And I think you're not afraid of it. So you've done a few, right? Or you've at least advised. I think you've tried
Yeah,
to advise
so
me.
this was another strategy of mine was, if I was going to be successful, then why chase what everyone else is chasing? Because then you're competing for those clients. Is that if you can learn to do things that are challenging, very challenging, and a lot of people don't want to do it for
Mhm.
whatever reason. It's a lot to get your head around. It took me a long time to learn how to do this, and
Absolutely.
I learned a lot from a lawyer as well. So spending time with that particular person on his podcasts, and so yeah, I became very well versed in this field. Um, Sub two, yeah. I mean, I can help people with those. I can read into those deals and see if it's a good deal or not. There's certainly an element of risk involved in sub
100%.
two and wraps. However, sometimes, and it's not something that you just throw around willy nilly and just suggest it to people for the sake of it. No, no way. It's one of those situations where it's maybe the lesser of two evils. So perhaps it could help someone, a seller, in the way that it's going to stop a short sale. It's going to it could prevent them from having a short sale, or necessitating a short sale. It can
Yes.
prevent them from a foreclosure. It could actually help someone in under the right circumstances. So it's definitely a good tool to have, but you need to know what you're doing with it for sure.
100%. See, I think that right there belies the fact that um, you're doing some things, smaller niches that others aren't really involved in, and it's helped you separate yourself from the masses. So here's a question for you for like the veterans on this call. So what's one thing that a Steve Markel or a Ben Baker who's been at this for 3+ decades, is there something that we have neglected or forgotten that you're now picking up the pieces of to succeed? Anything come to mind?
That's a really interesting question, and that's a really good question. And no, I don't think so, because you're all successful guys, and it's that's a great question, because you can apply that to a lot of different industries. Like
Indeed, indeed.
an old car salesman, then
I'm
this
always
new
trying to
rookie
give you a
comes
little
along.
something, baby. Something different, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What are they? I think so. I think that everyone must remember that people are customers, clients, consumers. They're attracted to good energy first and foremost. And if someone has been doing something, whether it's real estate or whatever it is, for a very, very long time, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're the automatic fit just because they've been doing it for a long time. And I don't know, I can't think of anyone in our office who has a level of complacency at all. I certainly don't see that. I have seen it in other industries. I've seen it in the car industry where there's a guy that's, I've been selling cars for 30 years and they get complacent with it. And then some school leaver comes in and starts cleaning up and
Yes.
doing all the business. And they don't like it. Well,
Right.
it's because they've got energy, because they've got something that's magnetic. It's because they've got something that's appealing to the consumer. Because people are attracted to that high level likability, just a good energy.
And you said it. I think people are attracted to energy. So let's bring it. So as we wrap up, uh, your recognizable brand, are there limitations to it?
Well, it's Englishman in Dallas, so I think my limitation is geography.
Okay.
But Englishman in Dallas, it's certainly an umbrella brand. I could maybe open up another business. I could open up a pub and call it Englishman in Dallas Pub. I could open up a bakery and maybe capitalize on the Great British Bake Off or something like that. The only thing is I know nothing about baking bread, so I'd have to find a partner that does. Um, I just talked myself into a good business model there, actually.
There you go. Again, I like that. I like that whole branding opportunity there.
Yeah, yeah,
Franchising right there.
yeah. So yeah, the limitation is definitely geography for
Okay.
sure. But then DFW is big enough that doesn't really matter.
Indeed. And I think you've done a really great job of uh, focusing all over. I feel like, if somebody mentioned, Sunnyvale, you're there, Plano, because again, I think you've dove right into this business, and I think learned it, focused, engaged. I mean, you made sacrifices, and I applaud all that because one, I have mad respect for you,
Oh,
and
thanks,
again,
Ben. I
well, again, that's why you're
appreciate
here,
that.
Andrew. That's why you're
Yeah,
here, right? Because
yeah.
I think I'm fortunate that I just don't have any scrub, you know, um, as a guest host on Tuesdays. I'm pretty fortunate there. And again, you were selected for a reason. One, because you were Rookie of the Year, and I think you've got an interesting story, and I appreciate you sharing it today. Now, here's something personal. Your wife,
Hmm.
you met her online?
Well, it was, yeah, it was online. It was
Okay.
online.
And
Yeah,
that's not negative. That's not
yeah.
negative at all.
No,
That's
no,
not why
it's
I brought
not
it
because
up,
that's
right?
that's normal. That's
Oh,
that's the that's normal
yeah,
now.
yeah, today.
If I
That's why I
said
brought it
if
up.
I said it was a ballroom, then
Yeah.
that would be a bit odd these days. But maybe back in there was a time when that was the normal thing, you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
Um,
And how
but
long
yeah.
y'all been together?
Oh, since
You better remember.
2019. Yeah,
Okay. Whew.
2019.
Oh,
So
thank
a
you.
while now. Yeah,
Okay.
7 years now.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Well, uh,
yeah.
and I can't remember, Steve, have we met her? Kennedy, did you bring her in?
Stevens met her.
Okay. I
Um,
probably have. I was just checking.
Teresa met her.
Okay.
A few people have.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
one thing I just want to say to new agents, or even maybe people who have been in the business a while and maybe they're going through a bit of a dip, is be fearless,
Ooh.
because you know what, be
Ooh.
fearless, don't be scared of anything, because you know what, I remember when I was at drama school, we were about to go on stage and there were some students there with stage fright, and the lecturer said, just remember this, no one's going to die tonight. And those words stuck with me. No one's going to die. So what have you got to lose? Someone could just say no, big deal, that's it, it's great, just carry on and
Andrew,
be fearless.
that is, uh, that's a wrap right there. I'm not going to ruin the moment at all.